Hi guys, this is Robert Galarza, CEO of TruTrace Technologies. Wanted to thank all of you for coming out and submitting some additional questions for our second Q&A. We're going to go through some of those today. I did condense some of the questions into kind of topic items because we had a lot of very duplicate questions. So we'll go through them in as great a detail as we can and hopefully provide you guys some insights on what our plans are for the future. So guys, the first question that came our way, it's kind of one that's actually near and dear to our hearts. As many of you know, from the inception of our company, we've been big believers in blockchain and blockchain technology, what it can provide within the scope of supply chain, transparency, accountability, auditability. And so again, big believers, big utilizers of the platform itself. The question that came to us was specifically around the evolving marketplace itself. Things like the HOWEY test and new blockchains that are coming online and our malleability and flexibility to work within the scope of blockchains. You know, the HOWEY test, for those that don't actually know what that is a regulation that's kind of been set forth, or a test that's applied to determine whether or not certain cryptocurrencies are classified as securities. Now, we don't actually work directly in line with cryptocurrencies. We actually utilize some of the more underpinning ledger technology from an auditability perspective and a baseline immutability perspective. But with that being said, we are always keeping an eye on the evolving marketplace and the different tests that may apply to certain companies. And we are very flexible in terms of who we can work with. Again, our system was designed to be a hub, to be a communicative system where we can collaborate with a multitude of different companies and even a multitude of different blockchains. So again, very flexible to change as this marketplace continues to evolve, and we're certainly big believers in it and big fans of where we see it going. So the next question that comes our way, kind of also in the realm of technology. Really, the questions were specifically related to data integrity. What are we written on? How do we protect security protocols? What sort of implementation and measures do we utilize to make sure that we're protecting both the data of customers, partners, patients, individuals in each jurisdiction that we're a part of? And to explain some of this, I want to take a bit of a step back. In terms of the pedigree of our team and pedigree of our company. You know, we're not an overnight company in terms of our background and experience. Our development team has over 20 years of enterprise software development, working with big companies like Microsoft and Google over the years. And so we brought a lot of that expertise to the table when we developed this core platform. You know, the other side of this is we're a cloud-based platform. So the way that the cloud works is you are, as a service provider, a software as a service provider, you are really incumbent upon the platform that you exist upon. So a lot of your security protocols are in alignment with the security protocols, the GMP or GXP methodologies of these particular companies. Microsoft Azure is one of the primary stacks that we run on. We also are very flexible, though. We know there are some countries that Amazon Web Services are going to be more applicable, or other cloud providers in let's say, other, you know, Southeast Asia or other places. So we need to have that flexibility, but understanding that the infrastructure of the platform that you're riding upon within the cloud space has to be the most secure, has to be the most robust solution possible, and you have to work alongside partners that fully understand the type of requirements that need to be put in place in order to protect this very critical business data. So I'm going to move away from the kind of conversation of technology for a moment and jump into a question that came to us specifically, in a series of questions that came to us specifically related to kind of our long-term business strategy, what our goals are, what our expectations are, where are we looking to go next. You know, 2021 for us, like many companies, was a bit of a year of transition. I think all of us were coming out of this global pandemic, you know, kind of evolving. We really, you know, as many people know, we started our company in the framework of the medical cannabis space in Canada, and we're still big believers and big proponents of that industry. But I will say that we have seen a critical area in terms of supply chain, food transparency, safety has really started to come to the forefront. I think COVID brought to light a lot of the issues and challenges there. And so for us, from a business development perspective, we've had a lot of very, very unique and interesting opportunities starting to come our way. Also working with some amazing groups and organizations, those of which, you know, hopefully we'll be disclosing over the course of the next few months, that are specifically related to product provenance and quality of products. So that's kind of the background and the framework of kind of what we've been up to. In terms of our expansion plans, we are, you know, obviously most of our team is based in the United States, so we've been doing a heavy load of business development here. But I can also tell you that a lot of other countries are really starting to come to the forefront. There are geographical regions such as Asia Pacific where transparency, auditability, provenance becomes a really critical area. They've got to feed a lot of people over there kind of consistently, so safety of product is really critically important. So, without trying to spread ourselves too thin, we're taking advantage of as many opportunities as we can, channeling with as many partners as we can, because we know that our growth through partnership is oftentimes going to be easier than us just going out there and trying to knock on the doors ourselves. So following up on our expansion plans, I'm going to take a step back because one of the questions that came our way was specifically related to one of our premier clients. And as many of you know, we've had an ongoing relationship with Shoppers Drug Mart and Loblaw in Canada, specifically related to their medical cannabis program. We've got a very positive relationship with them, consistently on all sides. We're very excited about what they're bringing to the table within the framework of that evolving industry. We also see a lot of potentially broader opportunities with them. In terms of our particular solution, and one of the other questions that dovetails off of kind of Shoppers is this going to be a mandated solution in that framework? And that's a question we really can't answer because I don't have a crystal ball in terms of exactly what those organizations are going to do or what our clients are going to do. I do know that our service we provide is something that they would like to see, that consumers would like to see. But we also want to make sure that we're providing value and service to the people using our system. See, it's not really just about us being a mandated solution that licensed producers or manufacturers have to use, but really being a system where those manufacturers or licensed producers can communicate the quality of their product through an independent third-party system, right? Where a customer can go and engage with that product on site. Where if there's a potential recall, you could literally go to your refrigerator, pull the product out, scan it through our system and be able to verify if it was one of the batches of product that was recalled or not. So we want to make sure we're a company that brings value rather than kind of being a mandated solution. And in terms of where Shoppers is and is going to be, we're here, we're continuing to support and excited to see what they're going to do next. So transitioning from a client-based question, the other question that comes our way, and actually this is a very common question that we get asked quite often, it really relates to the competitive landscape, right? We're very proud that we were one of the first companies to actually put cannabis data on the blockchain. That's obviously a feather in our cap that we're very proud of. We do see a lot of companies that are moving aggressively in terms of supply chain and transparency. There are a lot of companies that do some level of traceability at different areas. But I will say, global supply chain is a very big initiative, right? These are big problems that require a village of companies to come together and provide value for these particular clients that we're in front of right now. So rather than really looking at the full competitive landscape to say there's that company that does exactly what we do or that company does exactly what we do, we've very rarely seen any of those that do kind of exactly what we do. But we do see companies that are kind of in the same ethos or in the same space, or we have some level of crossover in terms of services we provide. But what has served us best, to be perfectly honest, has been an area of collaboration. So rather than looking at ourselves as competitors, how can we potentially work together to create the greatest level of value to our potential customers? Because we know that if we provide value alongside our partners provide value to those manufacturers and producers that we're looking to operate with, then we're going to be something that they're not necessarily going to be, we're not going to be a cost that they're looking at each month and being like, I have to pay this. They're actually looking at it saying, you know what, this brings significant value to how I connect with customers and how customers can trust all the great work that I do. So again, don't want to not say we don't have competitors. There are competitive companies out there, but we definitely are in a spirit of collaboration in 2021 and beyond. So moving away from the competitive landscape, right? Obviously there's a lot of companies and technology, and again, we're always going to be keeping an eye on both those that we can compete with and those that we can partner with. Another question that came to us was near and dear to my heart because it's actually kind of a part of the evolving legal landscape of what's unfolding here in the US. And it specifically was related to California AB 45 and what the potential impact of AB 45 could be on TruTrace. For those that don't know, AB 45 stands for Assembly Bill 45. It was recently passed by the California legislature, and it's pretty exciting because it's actually the very first state regulation around the distribution of CBD products within the state. The FDA, as we all know, post the Farm Bill, has not yet set forth the kind of regulations for distribution of CBD products. We know CBD is legal, but how those products are actually being manufactured and distributed is still a bit of a gray area. But California really laid down some very foundational components. One of the things that we were excited to see was a lot of it was what you would expect. It was related to good manufacturing practices, similar to things that you see in food and other sectors. One of the other things that they're really keen on is transparency. So even on packaging, scanning a product to pull all the product details. Hey, that's what we do. So we're pretty excited about what the potential could be in the state. But even beyond that, we know California is kind of a leader in cannabinoid medicine and some of the auspices of cannabinoid medicine. So ideally, if this regulation continues to do well, then hopefully we'll see other states look at similar type regulations to, again, create good, balanced manufacturing practices and transparency and safety for customers. So transitioning away from some of the evolving landscape and market opportunities, one of the questions that obviously we think about on a daily basis is, what is our current position financially as a company? How do we avoid dilution? How do we get ourselves to cash flow positive? And kind of where do things financially stand? And one of the things I like to always preface to our shareholders and to our investors, anybody out there, is that we have gone through a transition to make sure that we are tightening up everything related to our operations post-COVID. We have become very disciplined in terms of our financial approach. So obviously giving ourselves as long of a runway as possible is always the objective and goal. Putting ourselves in the position to where if we have to do another capital raise, we do it at a time where dilution is minimal, because actually that benefits those of us that have been working so hard for the past 3 years. We've all got our interest built into this company too, right? So we want to see it succeed. So all these years of work that we've been putting in are not for nothing, right? I can't give you an exact outlook of what exactly our rate's going to be, because we don't really have a crystal ball in terms of how the market conditions are going to accept some of the things that we're doing, some of the strategies that we're going to implement over the next few months. But I can tell you that we are being very, very conservative about our financial approach as we move forward, and really watching every single dollar that goes out and making sure that we don't spend more than we bring in as we move forward. So one of the final questions that came to us that we reviewed, and there were, again, a very series of questions, very similar, really related to kind of the forward plans. What are the long-term goals and objectives of TruTrace over the next 3, 4, 5 years? For many of you that know that our background was in medical cannabis, but the platform we designed was really focused on batch lot specificity, right? Detailed product data. How do you connect with your customers when you're doing great work? And we're seeing a lot of areas of need start to arise, whether it be food, cosmetics, apparel, pharmaceuticals, personal protective equipment. We've seen a number of different industries where they've looked at it and said, hey, you know what? I want to make sure that I'm doing great work and I can connect with my customers on a product basis, so they can be assured of what it is that they're receiving and buying. To that end, there are many customers out there, I think 71% that were surveyed, that said they'd pay up to 39% premium for product if they knew that provenance was assured. So, for us, that's the area we're leaning into. We're looking at industries where they are making provenance and product quality a priority. If an industry is not looking at that right now, we're kind of going to take a step back until they do, because at the end of the day, we're here to provide transparency. We're here to provide connectivity between manufacturers and all other parties within the kind of stakeholder framework, whether it be testing laboratories, partners, secondary manufacturers, and then obviously customers, clients, patients, all those end users that are picking up the product. So that's the area we're really leaning into. Obviously we got some big plans over the course of close out 2021 into 2022. We're excited to keep you guys apprised of all of it as we move forward. So that's about it, guys. I wanted to again thank all of you for the questions you provided. If you didn't get your questions in on time, don't fret. We will be having additional Q&As over the course of the next 6 months, ongoing. This is something we're trying to engage with our shareholders and investors, partners, as often as possible, obviously within reasonability. The other side of it is, for those of you who aren't following us on social media, I highly encourage it. We've done a great job. I got to give a tip of my cap to my team. They've done a really good job of really revamping our social media presence. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I highly suggest it. Facebook, I believe the links will probably be available at the bottom of the screen. And if not, then you can go to our website and follow them there as well. And we look forward to doing great things in 2021, keeping an eye on what we're doing in 22. Again, we believe we are ahead of the curve of what's happening in supply chain and transparency, and are excited about what TruTrace can offer to the global market.